Hey everybody, it's Colin. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving yesterday, and we're here to get caught up a little bit. So, as you probably know, I was away last week. I was out in Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge. But before I get on to some things with, some of the photographs that I took there, along with the group that I was with the NAMPA organization, we're going to do a little bit today with one of Michelle's photographs. Michelle's one of our online club members, and I helped her with a shoot a little while ago, and this is one of the photographs we ended up with. And she'd asked me what I might do to it to give it a little bit more impact. So here's where we're going to start out today with our image review. Okay, so thanks for the image, Michelle. And what I'm looking at here, we have a few things that I'm going to point out. On the right hand side of the image, there is pathway that's brightly lit, and up on the left hand corner of the image there's a little wall which is also brightly lit. And I think these two items really detract from the image itself, which, if we're given to looking at the main part of the image, is really the color in the water and the bridge and the little bit of waterfall underneath the bridge. So I want to try and maximize this image to bring out more of the detail, and a little bit of cropping is going to help us do that. So let me just get started here to activate my crop tool. Of course, I'm in Lightroom. And with my crop tool, what I'm going to do is see if I can give us a little bit more emphasis. It's kind of difficult to drag with my little marker here, so bear with me a second while I get a different tool to use. There we go, that's more like it, but a little bit more at this top left edge. And what I'm trying to do is give us a border on the right hand side, which includes the tree, but not the pathway, and the edge at the top, which also includes the tree up on the left hand corner, but cuts out the little bit of brickwork that was in bright light. So I think as a crop, that will probably do it for me. Okay, and I think already we can see there's a difference here. Without the real bright image on the right side of that pathway and the brickwork in the top left hand corner, we're able to focus a little bit more on the real detail. And a couple of other things here that I'd like to do to this image, of course. The trees are brightly lit, especially one on the left, which is why I like this image, by the way, because it creates a really interesting pattern of color on the water. But the bridge then is in shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the shadow out using the shadow slider over on the right hand side of the screen. And I'm going to bring the shadows up as much as I can. Actually, that's going all the way. And maybe I'll bring the exposure up a little bit too. There we go. That gives us a little bit more oomph to the picture. But since I brought the shadows up and I increased the exposure, now the highlights are a little bit too bright. So I'm going to take those highlights down using the highlight slider and taking them down into the negative position. And you can see those darken just somewhat. And one of the things I always do when I'm in this software is I add a little bit of clarity, which boosts the mid-tone color saturation. And that's what I will do there. Add a little bit of vibrance, which is color saturation for the whole image. Just a little touch of that. Now I'm still thinking I'm a little bit bright on both edges here. So I've got a couple of options. The one option that I'm going to go with is using the graduated filter. Okay, because what I want to do is perhaps gradually bring in some darkening to these edges, and I don't want it uniform, I want it to be graduated. So I'm going to use this tool. So once I click on the tool and drag the tool over to the left hand side, I'm going to start here first. I'm going to click and hold my mouse button and drag into the center, just to about where the tree ends. And once I let go of my mouse, you'll see that it activates my tool set over on the right hand side. Of course, I am in the develop module here, and I want to take that exposure down. So I'm just going to decrease the exposure. And I'm going to click done. I'm going to do exactly the same thing the other side. go all the way to about where that rock is less bright. And we'll adjust the exposure again. And I'll say done. So I think that's evened out the tonality a little bit. It's brought the real bright parts down. It's brought the real shadowy parts up. And I've cropped this image to the point that we have excluded the distractions in the upper left and right hand sides of the image. So if I can show you the beginning and ending of this side by side, is it going to do that to me? Yeah, it does a little bit. Okay, so let me just go into full screen mode here. That's using the Shift Tab button. You can see now that the bridge and the pond and the waterfall are much brighter, whereas the tree on the left is about the same as far as brightness is concerned. So even though I brightened the picture overall to bring detail out in the shadow, I was able, using the graduated filter, to take the bright parts of the trees back down again to kind of even the tonality and exposures out. Gives me a little bit more detail in this general area. Okay, so that's where I was looking at getting more detail in this kind of area right here, and keeping the shadows boosted a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go back to just a single image, bring back my tools. There is one more little thing here that I might do, and this area just right of center. I think it's just a ripple in the water, but it is kind of a distraction for me, so I'm going to zoom in on that. He says, hopefully. Let's just see if we can. Nope, it's not going to activate. There we go. Okay, so I will use, where am I? My spot removal tool. I'm going to click on that one. I've got heal active, and what I'm going to do is just brush over that. I'm going to adjust my brush to about the same width as the blemish, and I'm just using my mouse and using the roller wheel to adjust that. Click and drag across the part of the image that I want to change, and then click done, and you see it heals that quite nicely. Okay, so now I can go back to my image, and there we have it. I think an improved image, when you look at these side by side, will give you a better indication of a much improved image, although it doesn't show the original crop. But most definitely, as far as tonality, brightness, shadows are concerned, we made some really good adjustments. And the crop too has given us more of a concentration on that image as far as a landscape is concerned. Now, the only thing that might improve this image at this point is, the star of the show. We don't really have one, but that would be our next step, is trying to find one. Either put somebody on the bridge in a really bright color, or wait for a passing bird swimming, hopefully somewhere in that bright part of the pond. But hopefully that's given you a couple of insights in the way I look at these pictures again. Okay, that's it for now. I'll catch you next time, and enjoy the rest of your turkey.